And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Health and Ed Committee meeting in October of 2009. And first of all, we need to decide on our minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And of course, there isn't anyone, and so there we go. First order of business is just a piece of old business here, and that is the Board of Education work sessions that came up 2 or 3 times recently, and they are, as I understand it, will be taping their work sessions from now on. I want to thank the mayor for his help as well, and he and I both talked to them about this. Didn't seem to be a problem, and I think they're going to start the next time. It's already on the TV, I think, Mr. Mayor, as far as the next
scheduled work session, they will be there.
They'll be taping that, so that was of concern to more than one commissioner, I think. So we'll get the Tuesday and Thursday Board of Education when they're meeting with their work sessions in a regular meeting, of course. Any comments on that at all? Are we okay there? Then let's move on to the community care report then, if that's all right. Do we have a community care report? All right. Shelton's passing it down here. And I give you a second to look it over. Commissioner Cook, you're on the board, of course, and usually you have a comment or two. Is there anything that we need to be alerted to about the community care?
I think everything's going pretty well, and our chairman's sitting here.
Mr. Mayor, comment on?
I mean, the census is good and their services are good, and we've been able to recover nicely from the difficulties we had with the survey some months ago. So we're making good progress to continue the good service that's always been provided out there.
Collections have been been very good in the last few months. And
yeah, we've done much better over the last year or so with respect to the receivables, so cash flow is very good.
Need to hear a motion to approve the community care report.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Numerous seconds, Michelle. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposition, and we're okay. All right. Health Department, I believe Ms. Garrett's with us, and she's coming forward with her report and probably some questions about H1N1. I want to compliment you, first of all, on communiques on and news releases and whatever, which seemingly pop up just about everywhere. How come we can't get this? If we want something in the paper, they pay no attention whatsoever. When you call them, they put it in there word for word. But okay, Ms. Garrett, comments about your report?
Yeah, I have a couple of updates to update all of you about since our last meeting. The first one is just our usually monthly report that I have attached for you to look at. And I think Mr. Fresco had pointed this out as well, and I'll just continue to show you that we are showing a huge increase in adult women and adult men's health in our numbers at both sites, as well as our WIC numbers. That's the Women, Infant, and Children Food Supplement Program. And I think that's directly correlated to some economic hardships that our community has been feeling by losing access to health insurance and different factors like that. So we've done a lot of things at both clinics to try to increase availability of appointment slots and to also help these people who are some of these patients are the first time they've ever accessed our services. Let them know about other community services that are out there, and we've worked with some good community partners with the Workforce Career Service. They've been helping us to work as a team to let patients know about those kind of things. The second update I have is, since we last met, the Tennessee received some funds through the federal government to assist the local health department with the H1N1 vaccination administration. These funds were sent to the health department through an amendment to our county budget. This contains no matching funds. It's all state dollars that are coming to the health department through the county budget for administering the vaccine to our community, such as services for overtime, printing of forms, needed supplies. With permission from Commissioner Jordan, I requested to go ahead and present this to the budget committee, and I presented it, and they approved it, and the mayor has signed it. It's now at the state for the final phase of that. But I don't want that to give you the illusion that we couldn't do H1N1 vaccinations. We're totally ready. When the vaccine comes in, we have great plans on how to administer it to our community. Already we received 4,000 doses into the community, and in a couple of days at both sites, we administered it in a very timely manner to the high-risk groups, the children, the pregnant women, people taking care of children less than 6 months of age, healthcare workers and first responders. And so as soon as we got the vaccine in, within a couple of days, it was all administered. And I got several compliments from patients who were coming through that said this was really organized, it went well. So all we're doing now is we've got the plans, we're ready, we've got the supplies, we can immunize as much vaccine as we can get. We've arranged plans for whatever vaccine comes in. I just think there's been a little bit of maybe the drug manufacturers that make the vaccine were a little optimistic on how quickly they could get the vaccine out to us. It's not come quite as quickly as we had hoped, but as soon as it's available, I'm making it available to those high-risk groups. And as more becomes available, then we'll be able to loosen the restrictions and offer it to more people.
Full commission also voted on that too, as well as
Yes,
budget.
I forgot that step.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's a
Yes.
pretty important step.
Yeah.
So the,
I forgot that
the
step.
21
Thank you.
commissioners
Yes.
do know about it.
Yes, thank you for.
I don't see any amendments this time. No amendments, which
No.
is fine. Do you have any questions about the report from anyone?
I've got one.
Yes, sir.
Those tuberculosis numbers,
Yes, sir.
are those high for a county, a typical county like Rutherford County?
Well, we have a large population for the state of Tennessee and our county, so it's pretty equal for our population. We do have increasing numbers in the state as well, and we're doing more targeted testing. We're actually going in and checking all diabetic patients because we know they're at risk for TB exposure because of their diabetes has decreased their immunity. So we're doing more targeted testing. So I think we're even finding more out there in the latent version.
So what do you do to stop that from spreading through the
Well,
state?
by doing this targeted testing, we're actually identifying early cases of what we call latent TB, which is kind of sleeping version of TB. And if the sleeping version is given medicine for 9 months, then it doesn't wake up and become the active version, which is what we want to do. So we actually like to see those numbers increasing.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
I had a comment, and I don't know who to comment it to, whether it was the health department or the school system, but I had a couple of comments, and one from my wife in particular. The school system sent out a calling thing, called all the people, all the thousands and thousands of households, and told them that the H1N1 vaccine was available at the health department to go get it.
Right.
Well, then when they all got there, it was all gone.
Yeah.
You know, and if you only had 4,000 doses to start with, I would hope somebody at the school system could have, you know, investigated that, and they sent out probably 30,000 phone calls.
Right.
You know,
It's around
and,
35,000 phone calls.
Yeah, and that's a lot of upset people.
Right.
Because I know you've heard from them, because I've heard from some of them myself,
Yeah,
and I'm not
absolutely.
anybody to do with the health department.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
so I just hope we could work on our communications, and that probably, I might all be talking to the school system about that, but that's a big call out to send all those people rushing up there, and you had to live with those people that were all up there beating on your door.
Right,
wasn't it?
right.
But there are some upset people that
Sure.
it ran out so quick, you know.
Yeah. Well, I had 4,000 doses. I had sent the press release to the Daily News Journal, the Post, WGNS, and nobody had run anything. It wasn't getting out. The word wasn't getting out. I called the school nurses and asked them to please spread the word. And someone did contact me from the school and say, can we advertise? I didn't quite understand. I should have clarified.
35,000.
Yeah, I thought they meant like on bulletin boards and
Yeah.
you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I've talked with them now again and said we won't do that unless we have plenty of vaccine. But I will tell you, the day before the call went out, the next day was a half day for school. And we gave vaccinations all day long, didn't turn anybody away, all the way to the end of the day. Now, people started showing up on Friday and the next Monday, and yes, we were out at that time.
But you were still giving them probably to the target group.
Yes,
But
exactly.
see, but the call went out to everybody.
Right.
You know,
Well,
my kids are 16 and 13, and we got the call. You
Yeah.
know, and
And we're absolutely, I don't want to turn away, I don't want to turn away any children that might need the vaccination. I'm just saying that our targeted group is that younger group, because this first vaccine that came in is only the only kind that can be given to the younger ones. So yes, we worked on it, but again, we did get 4,000 people through 2 clinics in a couple of days in a timely manner, and I expected to get more vaccine. You know, we were kind of told some would come and it's just been a little bit slower coming in than it has. So I apologize to everyone who got the call and then couldn't get the vaccine. But I also didn't want to be sitting there with 4,000 doses and not getting the word out. Now, of course, it ran in the Daily News Journal after we ran out of the vaccine. You know how that just sometimes that happens with things. So we tried as best we can to get the word out. The county government is good about putting it on their website as well. The city has put it on their website as well. The library's posting it. You know, so I'm trying to keep the communication widespread about it.
Well, will you have, do you know when the next vaccine will be
I
in?
expect the first week in November to get some more. I don't know how much.
Next week.
Yes, right, next week.
Okay. I'm gonna repeat these two numbers and you tell me if this is correct. 898-7785, it would be in Murfreesboro, and 355-6175 to our brand new, shiny, new offices in Smyrna.
Yes,
So
sir.
might be a good idea to call. In fact, I think in the Daily News Journal article, it does say that, to call
Yes,
first.
Absolutely, it does say that everywhere to call. The state has had some website where you can go and check and see. There is some delay on that though. It's not like as soon as I run out, the website is updated. So it takes a little while for the website to catch up. So really the old fashioned just calling us if you, or if you can stop by if you live near or whatever, but those are the two options for the most current information.
Any other questions for Ms. Garrett?
I move we accept the report.
Thank you, Dr. Bullock. Need a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Cooch. All in favor, say aye, please. Aye. Any opposition? No, of course. Thank you, Ms. Garrett. Appreciate it very much. Mr. Sandvig is with us this evening and doing maybe triple duty. And Mr. Clardy, if you want to come on up as well, I know you've got a part to play here in a minute. First order of business would be the special projects. Ms. Charlie's not with us tonight. And Mr. Sandvig is ably filling in, I'm sure. What do you have for us, Mr. Sandvig?
Well, not much change from the prior month. Just updates for changes in purchase orders. No new big contracts have gone out. Yeah, I will be bringing forward to the board in November, that's my plan, an amendment that will do some cleanup and all for some of these completed projects. And after that amendment, do you want me to go over my page or?
No, sir, I think we're in pretty good shape. The public does need to be aware, people watching, that the commissioners have had this material for a number of days. And of course, it was prepared by Mr. Sandvig. So if we have any questions or anything special that you need to point out, Mr. Sandvig, go ahead. Any questions from any member of the committee for Mr. Sandvig on the special projects report? If there are none, then we need a motion to accept this report.
So moved.
Ms. Cook, and a second from Commissioner Bullen, an eager second, I might add. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? No? Okay. Ms.
Is
Sandvig?
there any way that we can have this report put on the television screen where people can see it?
Taping. That's up next.
I doubt it very seriously, because when you try to project that even on
It's already on
the
the
screen,
website now.
the print is so small, you can hardly read
Hardly
it.
read it.
I don't think it's practical. I think that's my judgment. Mr. Sandvik is
Well,
also
that's-
agreeing.
I was just
That's
thinking,
been our
the listening
experience.
public would probably like to see it. It is available here at the courthouse if they want to see it. And I was just trying to help them.
Our experience, the school board has been kind of like that here at the commission. Unless you have a few really good-sized numbers displayed at a time, it's
Okay.
difficult.
Mr. Sandvik also has a couple of amendments and a proposal for us, and I've got them in reverse order on the agenda, and I apologize for that, but if we could, we have material being passed around. Mr. Sandvik, we'll just take them one at a time since there's only a couple of them.
All right. The first amendment uses $21,506 in available regular education EA pay and $4,396 for the related benefits to cover additional hours for the federal bookkeeper in accounting and minor corrections in other classified pay, or hours in office of the principal and human resources. These additional hours are needed in accounting because we'll only be able to charge half of the federal bookkeeper's time to basically our NCLB and stimulus-related projects because the program has been clarified or has issued clarifications. And the EA funds are available because of turnover, people coming and going, lower average pay for those positions, but no position is being reduced. And the recommended motion is to amend $25,902 in pay and benefits from regular education EAs to other classified staff as presented.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Are there comments on this particular thing? I won't point out just for the use of Mr. Sandvik that this is October 27th, if that's important to anyone. I don't think that makes any difference, but that's okay.
We'll take them all as one vote.
Well, we can do that. We sure can. We sure can. Go ahead, Mr. Sandvik.
Okay.
Do you have no questions on this
The
one?
second amendment, Christie Houston Foundation gave the school system a $34,345 grant to replace 41 of the system's defibrillators. And this amendment budgets the grant and the related expenditure. We did a trade-in with our old units. Sorry. We did a trade-in on the old units, and the Christie Houston Foundation and the Jennings Jones Foundations have both been very generous to the school systems over the years in items like this. The old ones were no longer maintainable, basically, with changes in technology and all. And the recommended motion is to amend $34,345 to account $44,570 contributions and gifts, and $34,345 to 72,120,735 health equipment.
Questions from anyone? I'd like to do these two together. This next one, Commissioner Jordan may call for more comment. I'm not sure, but I need a motion to approve these two amendments. Then, please,
Got it.
Dr. Bullen, a second, please.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Jordan. We need to call the roll here. Okay, we need to call the roll. Ms. Shelton, please.
Commissioner Bullen,
Yeah.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Will Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes. You're stunned that I remembered to ask you to call the roll, aren't you?
No, I was going to remind you.
Oh. Okay, Ms. Sandvik, go ahead.
All right. Well, we are back with another lighting management project. And we've worked with Scotty Karoom before. We moved to the more energy efficient lights and ballasts in 2005. And this proposal is for occupancy sensors for our lighting systems as a second part of an energy conservation plan. And we are eligible for a $741,480 Energy Efficient Schools Initiative grant from the state. The project has to be approved by some point in December in order to utilize this grant. And that the grant covers 31.7% of this $2,337,515 project. We have two financing possibilities for the remaining around to $1.6 million. EESI will finance at 0% for $500,000 for 7 years, and the balance at 3% for 7 years, for an annual effective rate of about 2.08%, or Rutherford County could go to the bond issue. We don't get the $500,000 if we go to the bond market. But this $500,000, it's a special provision they are making for us. You may remember when we did the first project, we got a $500,000 for a 7-year interest-free loan. Well, they have come up with a similar project as encouragement for us. And of course, y'all would make this financing decision. The guaranteed annual savings would be $186,731. And Xcel Energy Group has estimated the payments of $246,000 for 7 years. Each of the next 7 years, we would spend $59,457 more than the annual savings. However, it doesn't affect the financing on this proposal at all, but our first upgrade is already saving $135,711 more per year in excess of the original guarantee. And so we've done well with this project. In 2013, the bonds for the original lighting upgrade will be paid off, and then we'll no longer be paying the $690,000 a year in principal and interest, and have a positive cash flow from both projects of $814,000 a year. And then by 2016, the total annual savings for the combined project will be about $1,060,000, and this is at the current electric rates. So we are requesting approval of this Xcel Energy Group's $2,337,515 proposal for occupancy sensors, contingent on state approval of the system's Efficient Schools Initiative grant of $741,480 and the County Commission's approval of financing for the $1,596,035 balance.
Okay, you've heard the recommended motion. I'm absolutely certain there are questions.
I've got a question, and I remember this question being asked before with the last lighting project.
Right.
What about not putting this out for bids, competitive market?
Right.
I mean, how are we doing? We don't want to break any rules.
And there is one of the state statutes does allow us not to go out for bid. In this particular instance, in the time frame we've got to get this, I kind of assumed they went after the huger systems first, and we would not be able to have a proposal back if we went out to bid before the money was no longer available.
And also on the financing side of it, an effective rate of 2.08 is a good rate, but the same thing cover that, because we have to go out to market on bond issues and things like that. I mean, are we okay on that also?
Since we're doing this through the state.
It's through the state now then. Because the last things turned out to be, like you said, even better than we hoped it would be.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is through some of the stimulus money that the commission approved that project for some of the county buildings last month. You're getting into the light changes that we did earlier, and that's where the big dollars are. But that project also has some of the lighting sensors in areas. So.
Since my friend Thomas Edison's no longer with us, will you explain to me exactly how these sensors work?
Mr. Clark?
They are motion and heat sensors, and they have a timing device on them that you can set them to turn the lights off from 5 to 25 minutes after either it doesn't sense the heat that was there or motion that was in the room. So it has an adjustment on it so that after you leave the room, it will go out in 5 to 20 minutes. And they've determined, or 25 minutes, that about 18 or 20 minutes is the best time to set those with all the experience they've had without having any problems on them. There's a little bit of an adjustment phase where you have to make sure that you have the alignment and things right. So there's a little bit up front on getting them adjusted so that they pick up or sense correctly. So a lot of it depends on the location in the room and which way they're pointed and that type of stuff.
Now, I want to clear up for myself. This is really only going to cost us, when you subtract everything out, about $59,500 more.
For the next 7 years before
Yeah.
we start seeing savings. Yes, sir.
That's just not a counting trick. That's the real.
Yes, sir. That's the real thing.
Okay.
Mhm. I try to avoid the accounting things.
Governments are good at counting tricks. Federal government sets a marvelous example.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, so when you walk back in the room, do they just come back on?
They'll come back.
Override it immediately. Can it work in the cafeteria, gymnasium?
It's very difficult in that area because of the large area to make them work properly. They do have an override switch on them so that you can override them to turn them on to leave them on, or turn them off to leave them off also. But they're not very practical for an area that large.
So would it just go into offices and classrooms?
Yes.
Are people just
And
not
the
turning
hall-
lights off?
Mechanical rooms, hallways.
So people just not turning lights off now to just leave them on all night, or?
Sometimes even like in the summertime when they're cleaning schools, they may have 2 or 3 wings on, and you only need 1 wing on that they're working in. Someone may run down to get something and leave an entire wing on. And I think one of the far-reaching effects of this is if the cap and trade actually goes into effect, I think we're going to see electrical rates in our area where we're used to getting cheap electricity go up even more because the carbon credits, there'll be a cap on that, how many carbon credits the producers will get. And TVA has so many old coal burning plants that the emissions, the carbon credits would be fairly low, and they'll either have to buy more carbon credits or build newer, cleaner plants. So I think we're going to see a spike in that at some point if the cap and trade actually does fall into effect. So I think this is going to really give us a leg up and kind of a jump on getting ahead of the curve of all of that.
Well, and I think too that that they're set at that optimum time, 18 to 20 minutes. I think that would help also with the conservation. I know there are the times I leave my office, I flip off the light, and I'm back 2 minutes later. Well, from what Scotty says, I'm probably better off leaving it on.
Right.
But if I might be gone for an hour or whatever, and I think that automatic thing would help also.
I know at Riverdale, I can only speak to this one thing. Wasn't the lighting, it was the heat and the air conditioning. And I don't know if that program is still in effect or not, but they, at Riverdale High School for a while, they had a program where it turned off the heat late Friday, turned it back on early Monday. I believe I'm right on that. Well, it worked fine. As a matter of fact, it worked too well, because that simply meant that you didn't go out to the school at all. You didn't do any extra work at all because you were freezing to death. So it had that was the downside. I'm sure it saved money. But this is not heat, this is light
Right.
only, and electric rates.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Mr. Williams?
When you're talking about this savings, it's compared, can you give me a little more definition of we're saving, is this, because I read the newspaper when I'm looking for things, and I save about $10,000 for not buying anything. So,
Well,
I mean, where is the savings compared to? I mean, is it compared to leaving the lights on all the time? Is it compared to what?
It's, most of it's calculated on the kilowatt hours, and most, lighting fixtures are rated on how much they use per kilowatt hour, or however long they're on, how many kilowatts per hour. So what you do is figure how long they're going to be off. You have to do a calculation on that, and the time that they're actually off, you're saving that much money. And it's pretty standard throughout the U.S. to calculate it like that. So all the power companies and everyone else will kind of be on the same page, so you can check from county to county or from state to state. So you're actually, you know what the light's using, you know how much time you're not using it, and you calculate the savings on that.
So this savings is a theoretical savings, not on an actual, this was the light bill for last year,
That's correct.
and what we're going to say, what would the...
But it's very conservative, because we did the same thing when we put the other ones into effect and changed the light fixtures, the ballast, and the bulb. And we're saving now in excess of what we calculated. We're saving $170,000 a year more than we originally
the projection was.
Right. And we anticipate the same thing happening on this one also.
and like Mr. Karoom, they base their work on engineered studies of lights in this environment typically would be on this long. So no, it isn't based on actual time on, time off, but I do recollect giving him a box of our bills, and they went through stuff like that. But the industry standard is, the industry standard for evaluating savings is also based on average time on.
But it's not a actual bill that we've had over the last year or years.
Well, but they were analyzed in coming up.
And
But that's not these numbers, I guess.
They
is
mainly
my
do that
question.
to get our usage, and what we're paying for electricity is mainly what they use those bills for to go back. But it's a theoretical calculation, which is very conservative. And as I said earlier, the other program saves us $170,000 a year or more a year than we had anticipated, and we think this one will do the same thing. Been a great program for us.
But this is just basically, as Commissioner Goop said, just to turn the light off.
That's right.
Okay.
It, on the second paragraph, it says the guaranteed annual savings. How are they gonna guarantee that?
He will, if afterwards, when they are checking their engineered studies, if this project will not generate that much savings, they will reduce what they have charged us.
But you think it could be well over the $100?
Well, I am confident that Mr. Karoom is giving us a
Conservative.
conservative number so that he will meet that.
They're gonna, if this is approved, they're gonna do us like they did the school before, because after hours, weekends, evenings, they were hitting the school at a time before, putting all their people on, in and out and stuff. And of course, this won't be near as big a deal as changing all at one switch instead of 10 fixtures, but it'll be the same type of.
That's correct, and we, that's one reason we were confident that Mr. Karoom and his group could handle it. And we were pleased that the state, went ahead and gave us the go-ahead to go with them, because we have a glitch here and there, which you'll have when you're working in 40 schools or whatever. But they addressed all of them. We're still getting light bulbs from them now in certain areas and they've stood behind their guarantee on those and done their warranty like they said they would. So we're confident that the principals are also familiar with them. They know what the program is, and we think it'll be a real smooth transition through the process.
If the commissioners have any other questions, hold them for just a second. I'd like to ask the mayor any comment he might want to make.
We had a preliminary meeting with Ms. Nolan and I did with Mr. Sandvig and Mr. Gill, and they've shared this information with them, the same information, same questions that these committee members have asked. We think that it's a reasonable approach, and we think that the return on the investment will be sufficient enough to really justify this expenditure. So we support what they're proposing.
Any further questions or comments from anybody? If not, you've heard the recommended motion. And Ms. Shelton, if you would call the roll, I'd appreciate it.
You don't have a motion yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Thank you very much. I need a motion. Thank you.
I'll make it.
And a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Cook. Now we can call that roll that I was so eager to call a minute ago.
Commissioner Bullen,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Will Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes.
Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman,
John. Yes, sir.
at this time, would it be appropriate to ask Mr. Clardy a couple of things about the schools we're building, since several of us have received calls?
I think that'd be fine. Mr. Clardy's here and ready for anything.
Clardy,
Yes.
we already know the answer to this, and we know that y'all have done the right thing, but we have a few citizens who drive by Oakland Middle School and are a little skeptical. They think we're building a school in a basin and that it will flood and it'll be a disaster, and they're wanting us to stop construction. And we tried to tell them that we don't make errors like that. This has all been well thought through, and it's certainly nowhere near any type of panic type thing that we're getting from a handful of citizens. So if you'll clarify that for the.
Well, you answered correctly. So, we evaluated the elevation of that school when we went into it and did some upfront estimates. To raise the school up to street level, it would have cost us about another $1.5 million on that site. We've engineered the site to drain. We've also have a backup system in place that will have a generator on it in case anything goes wrong. With the plan, it's that entire deal was like $150,000 to $200,000. The original estimates were over $1.5 million. So if we'd actually raised that whole site up on that front half where that school is, it would have been $1.4 million or better to do that. And we're confident that what we have has been engineered appropriately to all the standards that it needs to be, and we're confident that it'll work.
So that would take in if we had 12 inches of rain in 24 hours and more rain in several other days, so that area would be able to handle that.
Yes, sir, it would be.
Are you gonna have to do any off-site pipes down to the creek or something, or is everything you're gonna do be on site?
Well, it's on site, although we have a big detention pond back there on the back corner just behind the Hutchinson property that we have several different size outlets in that go for a 25-year flood, a 50-year flood, and a 100-year flood. It would overflow. The site drainage is appropriate, and then the elevation of the pond is set such that if we get a 100-year flood or better, it will just run over the back and down to the creek. We're currently talking to Mr. Elrod and working a deal with him so that I think he has some development ideas for that property back there, on toward subdivision and back out toward 96. So we might actually accommodate him in some way and help to not put as much surface water on him, and maybe go down kind of from the detention pond down the edge with maybe a pipe that will get a large amount of that water straight down to the creek. But the detention pond will gather the water and release it at a less of a rate than what was coming off of it before we started development.
So to clarify this, make sure people understand, you're not basing this on some unproven theory about managing water.
No, sir, we're not. We're having, we've used good sound engineering calculations. The state has reviewed it. The city has reviewed it, and it meets all the requirements. And we're confident that it'll work.
You can't say any better than that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Bullen. Before Mr. Ash comes forward, I just tell the committee that Mr. Clardy has agreed to come to the commission meeting in December, I think we agreed, and going to bring the commission up to date on construction progress of the two middle schools at that point, and also central plans, possibly when you expect to start over there. So at least we're planning on that.
We got the check set of plans today back on Central, so we'll be going through those this next week with Mr. Ash and making sure all the requirements for the academic standards are very met, like science labs and things. But,
all right, that's fine. Any other questions for Mr. Sandvig or Mr. Clardy? Okay, gentlemen, thank you very, very much. We've had a couple of requests for Dr. Ash to join us, and from Central Magnet School, and discuss athletics and maybe anything else over there. And to his immense credit, he said he would come any meeting that we want him to at any time. So he'll be addressing us every meeting from now on. No. We agreed that since you'll come anytime, that tonight would be a good time. So, Dr. Ash, welcome. And I know things are going well. We have toured your building fairly recently, so, and you were kind enough to take us through and show us where our $2 million plus is going to be spent. But if you would like to address this committee, I think the main focus of questions involve athletics, but Commissioner Jordan brought this up, but there are others that have mentioned this, so whatever you would like to do, that's fine with me.
Well, I mean, I'd like for the main focus to be on academics. It is a school, so I mean, we our first and foremost focus will always be academics. We do plan on having an engineering program, a biomedical program. We are a math science emphasized magnet school, although if your child has a gift in English, they certainly will be challenged and find lots of opportunities there for that as well. Next year we will be 6 through 10, then we'll add a grade each year. The important dates: December 1st, applications will go out. They are due by February 1st, so if anyone's interested. We have been out to the schools. I have been to Thurman Francis, Discovery School, Campus School, McFadden. Had an open meeting at Siegel Middle and Laverne Middle. We had almost 200 at Laverne Middle the other night. We had about 400 at Siegel Middle coming out to get information. We are very excited about that. We do plan on offering sports. We do not plan on offering football, and probably not wrestling because of facilities. We have one gym, and it just is impractical. The football, not only facilities, but a little bit of the startup cost is prohibited. We do feel like we can offer the other programs with the facilities we have. I have spoken to the city of Murfreesboro. Currently, Central Middle plays at Barfield and McKnight Park. So naturally, they won't be playing anymore. McFadden plays at Barfield Park.
And I do know for a fact Christian Middle plays their JV at Barfield Park. So we will slide into some of those spots for baseball and softball. The other sports will be at the school. I mean, basketball will be in the gym. Soccer will probably convert the practice football field into a soccer field just because it's a beautiful field. It's got quality grass. So cross country obviously doesn't need facilities. Tennis, y'all approved that. I guess they're finishing it right now. So we do feel like we have the facilities without any additions.
Will you offer a JV and a varsity?
Yes, sir.
Because you've got, six, however you want to break it up, but you basically got a middle school, high school combined.
We plan on playing middle school, as a separate. We're going to do our best to keep our middle school and our high school as much separate as possible. Sixth graders in 12th grade is a long age difference. So we will play a middle school schedule. I spoke to Eagleville today about playing them next year. Next year we probably will not play varsity simply because we have only freshmen and some sophomores, much like Blackman High School did when it opened. So we will ease into a varsity schedule.
I was just a little surprised because I remember some years back when all this first started being talked about, some of the other high school principals were apprehensive. And from what I can remember, don't know how much of it was public record or actually, in the minutes and everything, but they were assured that there would only be, I remember the term token athletics at the magnet school, and that way that the kids, that really the great athletes and all would still be going to their school, because a lot of your real bright kids want to play a basketball or a baseball or a soccer or whatever, and I was told it was going to be something more or less like intramural type sports only, just very minor. It was going to be an academic school and basically no athletics, to speak of. But then I was told that some last few months it's going to be basically what you just said, everything except for football. And I just wonder how long before we get to where we need equipment and coaching supplements and this, that, and the other, and before long we might need a new gym. Our gym doesn't really suit itself for high school basketball, when we need a better gym and stuff. And I was just rather shocked because I was under the impression it was going to be, if anybody up here believed any difference, I believe Mr. McAdoo remembers about like I did. We discussed this one time, and
I'll be honest, I can't speak for that time period. I was principal of Christian Middle. I can, whatever expenditure we put out won't come close to the stadium at Stewart's Creek High School in a few years. We currently supply sports for all schools. The Oakland Middle will have a practice baseball and softball field.
But this is an academic school, in my opinion.
Hopefully they're all academic schools.
But this is a emphasis on academic school, and I didn't think it was an athletic. Also, I thought this was if your child wanted to be challenged in those things, you went there, but that was just my impression. I'm just one of 7 members on this committee.
When was the changes made?
Once again, I have no idea. I was not involved in the planning several years ago. I'm not sure Mr. Gill was.
Mr. McAdoo was on the committee,
Mr. Gill was on the committee, and it was stated that any child that attend that school, they want to play athletes, they will be able to go to the school that they were previously zoned for and participate. So all we asked him, when was this change made, that Central Middle?
Well, if we are not a member of TWSAA, that would be impossible anyway, because only members, and if we didn't have sports, we obviously wouldn't be a member of TWSAA. And currently, that is not the TWSAA rule. Currently, you make an agreement with a single school, and your children play at that school. We are working, hopefully, trying to talk TWSAA into changing the rule to where, for example, football, they'll play at their zone schools. And since I've been hired, I don't know that there's been any discussion of anything else. The board discussed it, but voted for sports. I don't know if I'm a high school principal. It bothers me a little bit that they're worried about losing athletes, but not worried about losing their best students. Hopefully all the schools are about academics, and that's the main focus of every school. So I can't speak for every other school, but I mean, I think we will be competitive in several sports: tennis, golf, cross country. Matt Fadden's been very successful in cross country.
Somebody told me that they didn't think that the school would be able to attract enough students without athletics.
There's probably a point there.
And personally, I disagree. I think we're going to have a problem with so many people wanting in.
I hope.
It's going to be a chaos. Basically, if we have people wanting in and they can't get in, because you said you had 200 people in Laverne, and that's a long way from Laverne to Main Street here in Murfreesboro, But I just remember that we voted to spend how much on Central Magnet School? $2.5 million, something like that. And at that point in time, at least I was under the impression it was there weren't athletics there, and I don't know how much we're spending on the football stadium at Stewart's Creek whenever that comes to pass, but that's a whole different point.
I would just like to add one thing, though. You keep speaking of academics, maybe the principals at the other schools should have been concerned with that academics. They were. They were concerned with it. They hated to lose their top students. But Mr. Gill assured us that if they lost their top students, they just have to live up to it and do better at the school. Now, academics were definitely a concern coming from these other schools.
Good.
I don't want you to think sports was the only reason that this was brought up. What we were looking at was the cost of this project. As you know, it wasn't a popular project per se, and we were looking at the cost. Now you're telling me that we're going to have all these athletic activity over there. So, what is the price of this? What is the cost of this?
Probably the supplements of the coaches.
And that's it? No equipment? No.
Well, we intend, Central Middle School was, the county purchased volleyball standards and Munette, the volleyball setup, whatever you want to call it. In the last couple of years, we plan on using that equipment. The gym, it's gym, I mean, I don't know what else to say. The floor's been redone in the last several years, in the last few years. Mr. Stanby probably could speak to that, or Mr. Clardy. Once again, cross country, by its very nature of the sport. Soccer, as a school, I mean, we'll have to purchase another set of goals. There's some uniform costs, but I mean, at every school there's uniform costs, but you tend, after you get up and going, sports tend to be self-supportive across the county. We will not have the cash machine football that other schools do, but I think our parents will support their children in the sports. I do hope we have, hopefully it won't be chaotic, but I do hope we turn away children. I mean, I hope we have that many people that want to get in. And so I think that means we have a program that is popular. So, yes, sir.
Somebody down here.
Mr. Cook.
Yes, ma'am.
I had talked to the school board between 8 and 12 years ago about putting a magnet school in Laverne
Yes, ma'am.
and making it very tough because there's a lot of parents that says their children doesn't want to play sports. And I've had children to tell me who they didn't want to play sports. They would rather go and excel in math, science, and these subjects. Then somebody on the school board said, we have to have a gym.
Well,
The state requires us to have a gym. It's not what we wanted, but the state required. I said, well, we've got a gym in one of our schools that we could empty out and do such and such. But anyway, and that's what I'm looking at. It was very, very minimum sports because of physical education had to be included, and that's where the sport come in, was through the physical education. Now that's the way I've been understanding some of it from the state. The state changes rules before you can even turn around. So I don't know what is required by the state for this magnet school.
Well, wellness is required of all children in high school, beginning with this current year's freshmen, a semester of physical education.
Can be counted towards marching bands and some of those things that can be counted.
There are certain areas that can
Yes.
cover the physical, the PE. Wellness, other than ROTC, I don't know of any that will cover the wellness because it also has a health component. And without a gym, I mean, probably what they were talking about, without a gym, it would be impractical to do wellness. You know, obviously, on a day like today, I don't know what you would have done with the children without a gym to take them into. But I mean, that, as far as I know, that's the only requirements by the state to have school is you have to have, for high school, a child has to have a wellness credit and a semester of PE.
But, and that, I'm a little bit confused the way that I had been told about the magnet school and what's coming about now of the magnet school. See, because I didn't understand that magnet school was going to have all these sports. They was going to excel in their stage productions,
Yes, ma'am.
their law courses, their nutrition courses that they don't teach in some of the other classes, some of the other schools.
Engineering program, for example, is
Right.
not offered. But I have visited two magnet schools, Martin Luther King and Hume Fogg. Martin Luther King actually has a state basketball championship. They are in the top 22 or 23 in America, top rated schools. They offer a full range of sports. Martin Luther King's children play football at Pearl Cone. Hume Fogg plays at Hillwood. Don't know why those schools were chosen. Hillwood seems a long way from Hume Fogg, but they were.
Now, Hume Fogg has been in business for
Since 1916.
1960. I started to say 100 years.
Pretty close, yes, ma'am. And it's a tremendous school,
It
beautiful
is.
building. But they do play a full complement of sports. I believe Hume Fogg's been state runner-up in soccer, state runner-up in cross country. I did notice those trophies. I have not found I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm certainly not saying that, but I have not found a magnet school online. One of the things I've done to do research is I've looked at the top 150 schools in America and went to their websites and tried to steal ideas. I've not found one that does not offer sports. Once again, I'm not saying it's not out there. I just don't think it's the common. Children want the high school experience as well. And we will, once again, our first priority is academics. And we will excel academically. I mean, whether we offer sports or not, we will excel academically. And I think for that child that doesn't want any part of athletics, we will have a strings program, which we're very proud of. We have our band will be a little different. We'll have orchestra, small group band, like jazz band, rock band, that type of thing. Obviously, we won't march. Without a football program, it's a little more challenging to march. But we will have a very good band, and I expect our drama people will come from everywhere to see our drama performances.
Well, that's one of the thoughts I had when the child is enrolled in this school, if he wants to be or she wants to be, they have a choice to go to this school or the magnet school, whatever, maybe Smyrna High or the magnet. And that's where they will be enrolled in that school, either Smyrna or Laverne or the magnet school. That's their school. They won't be, I'm going to go to the magnet school today, but I'm going to play football over here at Smyrna. See what I'm saying?
Well, once again, football and wrestling will be the only thing we offer. But I would also argue that Smyrna High School has a great drama department.
Oh, yeah.
And they offer band and choir and a lot of the things we will be offering.
And they have several things in the band, too.
Right, exactly. And they still play sports and do a good job of both. I mean, Smyrna High School has
But all your
tremendous
students at
test
Smyrna
scores.
High School is not going to the magnet school.
No, ma'am.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
They
ma'am.
can't go, what somebody was saying a few minutes ago, the good student here at magnet school might want to play football, the way I understood it, at another school. And
Well,
they
we're
can't
hopefully going to
cross.
hopefully we're going to fix that, and they will, if the TWSAA will agree with us, and that's up to them. I can't speak for them.
I'm
They will
looking
play at their zone school.
I'm also
But-
looking at it that student that wants to go to the magnet school won't be interested in sports as much.
Probably not. I won't argue that point. I don't think we will have the percentage of students at Central playing sports that other schools do, just because, well, one thing, not having a football program, I mean, that's Riverdale, probably 180 students. in the football program, freshman and varsity. So we won't have the percentage. I agree with that. I mean, we will have several children who are big strings people. They'll come from Thurman Francis or wherever, want to play the cello. And we will celebrate their success much like other schools celebrate state championships. I mean, we want a specific environment that is conducive to academics, and that's what we will be pushing.
Dr. Bowden?
Well, I want to defend what he's doing. I think he's researched this, and I have some familiarity with this, with magnet schools. You're trying to put people in a box, saying that they're highly gifted intellectually, that they're not interested, or that they can do other things. I think it shows when you look anywhere around the country that kids that are intellectually superior to the ordinary average kid, that they can also, and they like to do and participate in other things. Maybe it's just in the fine arts, but it may be that they might be interested in track or cross country or basketball. It's secondary to those kids, but they want to have the opportunity to participate in that, and that produces a well-rounded person. The European countries don't take that approach, but in this country we do. And I've had a lot of human falls. Well, obviously the MTSU had a lot of human falls students. Some of them didn't participate in sports, but a lot of them did. But sports was not the big deal to them. They were glad for the opportunity to have that outlet to go into that. But they knew and they understood at Human Fall that if you didn't perform academically, you were out of there. And as much as I'm a defender of public schools and our high schools, that's not the case where schools have football. I've just seen it too many times where they protect certain athletes and they keep them in school and they manage to keep them there because they need them on the football team. That doesn't happen at a magnet school. The sports are always secondary, but it's there as an outlet for a well-rounded person. You can't put these people in a box and say if you're intellectually gifted that you're not interested in other things. Usually you find that the more intellectually gifted they are, the more versatile they are in a lot of things. So I think they're on the right track over there. My fear is that there'll be some people that sometime in the community will try to pressure them into putting a football team over there. Well, that's on down the line. Anyway,
it will be challenging.
That's my 2 cents.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Everything you said is well and good, but when we started this project on trying to come up with this magnet school concept, some of these things were brought out. Okay, for example, if this school's gonna have everything that the other schools got, so why didn't you take Smyrna, Blackman, or one of the existing schools and make them magnet schools? That was one of the questions that we brought out on the front end. So that's when they started cutting out these different programs and just having this program, this program, this program. So it wouldn't be a duplicate of the schools we have in existence now. So why don't we just take all this money that we're going to spend, we're going to spend in the future, and just pick one of the existing schools and make them a magnet school?
There's 2,000 kids go to Blackman High School, about 2,200, and we will never have a magnet program of that magnitude. And we would have to put those 2,200 kids in another school, which would be about $50 million currently to build an extra high school. And central building, whatever you want to call it, due to the fact that its age is much like McFadden, Dr. Bullen saw it the other night. It's in a lot better, or other day, it's a lot better shape than people give it credit for. But it has a perception of being an older building. This will make people want to go to that building. And I don't think we could have practically built an extra high school. Right now, we're short a couple. I don't think we could have built an extra high school to free up Blackman High School to be the magnet school.
Point.
Mm-hmm.
We spent $50 million for 2 middle schools.
Mm-hmm.
We want to spend 2.5 plus to do whatever is central to make it a magnet school. So why couldn't we just leave Central Middle like it was and run the other middle schools, and then just went out here and built another school? You're saying it's going to be 50 plus. I'm already spending 50 plus.
Well, but then we wouldn't have had anything to do with the kids in the portables at Siegel Middle and the other middle schools that are overcrowded as well. I don't know, from what I have been told, and I certainly wasn't in the county, but the plan 30 years ago, when Riverdale and Oakland got annexes, was to make Central a magnet school. I think that plan predates my moving to this county. And the county did not build a school fast enough, and they needed the annexes for the high school.
30 years ago, we was looking at Murfreesboro City getting
Right.
into the high school building program. That's the reason the building program was changed a little bit in the county, because Murfreesboro City come up with the idea saying if we got the grammar schools and they can't get their school system up, we want to build our middle schools and high school. That was the going plan back when you were talking about.
But the original plan, I believe, was to turn Central into a magnet school. Central has a unique character that we plan to exploit. Once again, much like McFadden, I'm not sure a traditional school today would work in McFadden's facilities, but a magnet school, because of the nature of the children and some other things, work perfectly there. Yeah, I think that's probably true for Central. I think the two new middle schools give those children different opportunities that other children have gotten, and make it a little more equitable in their education. And we certainly are thrilled with the building. We think we can do a lot with it. But a lot of the $2.5 million would have had to have been spent whoever stayed in that building. Mr. Party can speak to that. A lot of our renovations would have needed to be done as long as we keep teaching there.
Commissioner Jordan?
Well, only if you're through, I've supported the magnet school concept from the start. I saw what McFadden happened to a school that was, older school and all, and turned into one of the most sought after seats in the county, and I feel certain the same thing's fixing to happen at Central. And I appreciate you coming tonight. You're the principal of the magnet school, and you stated a few minutes ago the decision to have athletics was made at the board level or sometime prior to now.
As far as I know, I don't,
And your job is to support that school and do everything you can with that school. So your
Yes,
job
sir.
is to come right here and tell us how you need athletics, how you want athletics. You're the Central Magnet guy. I mean, if you get a chance to have anything extra over there, you need to fight for it tooth and nail. But I would like to see the superintendent or director of schools or the school board's representatives here, because they're the ones that made the decision. We're talking to you about what was told to us by somebody else who made another decision that I don't think they should have sent you up here to get fussed at by us or questioned by us, because it wasn't your decision, and you're not the one who told us that two or 3 years ago. So I would like to see Mr. Gill or somebody come.
Mr. Gill is at a policy committee meeting, or he would have been here to address this.
Well, I would still like at some point in time for him to address the thing to the question to the commission or this committee or somebody. Because it is
don't have a vote on this anyway.
It's
We
changed
don't
from
have a
what
vote on
what
this.
we approved, and whether it's for the
Discussion.
better or the worse, I don't doubt that some of the smartest kids I went to school with are also played athletics and stuff, and I think that was part of the salvation of the rest of the comprehensive high schools. They knew a certain percentage of those kids. If you've got everything but football up there, that's the only thing to keep those kids from leaving the comprehensive high schools is football and stuff. And so I thought those principals thought, well, I've got a whole lot of sharp kids who play basketball, baseball, and everything else, and we'll still have them, and stuff. And so there was a percentage of those kids that were still a lock for your Seagulls, your Oaklands, your Riverdales, and all. And if you've got everything except for football, that's the only sport they're basically going to keep those kids far. And if you get that worked out through the TSSAA, they won't even have a shot at keeping them that away. So that was my my uneasiness with all this. But I appreciate you coming tonight, and I support what you're saying here, because your job is to do everything you can with that facility over there, and I feel sure it'll be a success.
But I will tell you the same thing I tell at my meetings. A parent in Rutherford County has three choices. They can go to a high achiever parent. They can go to the IB program, they can go to their traditionally zoned school, or they can apply for magnet school. And all three choices are great choices. And we have very good, Smyrna High School, some of their value-added scores are the highest in the state of Tennessee. Oakland has an excellent IB program. I've met with Mr. Nolan. to discuss AP scores. He has some tremendous AP scores, and the other schools as well. Eagleville offers a unique situation and offering that other schools can offer. So, I mean, I think all the high schools have something to offer. I'm not here, and I tell the parents, I'm not here to compete against the other schools. We offer a unique situation for students. We, in a unique environment where the children will choose to be there, and the peer pressure will be a little different toward, academic success and that sort of thing. So, I mean, I think the other schools have a lot to offer as well. My son goes to Blackman High School. He'll be a junior. He won't even have an opportunity to apply for the magnet school. He'll miss it. Getting an excellent education. Miss Vick does a tremendous job. He has the best chemistry teacher I've ever been around, and I taught chemistry. So, I think the other schools do have a lot to offer, and they will keep a lot of their children. I fed Riverdale for years. Riverdale has an aura, if nothing else, but they seem to instill a lot of school pride and a certain love for the school, I guess the best way to say it, that a lot of schools don't do. So I think the other schools do have a lot to offer, and it's going to be a difficult decision for parents. And I think if they choose the magnet school, we will give them the best opportunity at an education. But if Mr. Gill made me principal at Riverdale High School tomorrow, I would feel the same way there. Whatever principal, if they don't feel like their school is the best, they should be fired. I mean, their school should be the best in their mind, and they have the most to offer. Kenny Nolan will sit right here and argue with you that he's not going to lose kids to me. Because his school offers so much that he won't lose anybody. I think he's wrong.
I'm glad we have someone to stand up for our schools, and our principals pretty well do. And I know the board is a pretty good board too.
Yes, ma'am.
We all have faults, and we stand to be corrected on our faults. But it is tough. To me, a magnet school principal leader has to be a tough leader. And no, I'm not going to pick up that paper I threw down. Yes, you are. And the parents, I don't think it's going to have as big a decision to make for their child to further their education as what we are making out of it.
Well, I mean, once again, I hope we're everyone's first choice. That's my job.
Which are more of independent schools.
Well, I mean, I would like to see a lot of people have the programs we will offer.
We have good school systems.
We do have tremendous school system.
Other questions for Ms. Dash? Comments? If not, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming tonight.
So will the director be here in the next meeting?
If you would like for me to request that he attend, if he doesn't have a school board meeting, I'd be glad to do so.
I think so.
And the chairman too.
Come up and get us informed on what we're going to do.
That'd probably be a
Mr.
school
Chairman, I
board.
want to make a comment here. I'm going off the commission, so I don't really care what I say sometimes. This body is the last body that needs to be thinking about the setting the instructional program of schools. The county commission is in no way qualified to set the instructional program for any school. That's the job of the school board. That's the job of the professional people that run the school system. Our job is basically to provide, if we're willing to provide the finances for them to run the school. But for people to sit up here and to say that you've got to be having this kind of program and that kind of program and these kind of courses and that kind of course, this body is absolutely, totally, completely unqualified to be doing that. Now, that's my opinion, I'll be yours.
Well, I was told there was only going to be token athletics, and now it's changed. And we've asked when it changed. That's all we ask is when did it change?
I think I got a right to know with 50 million plus tag on it.
We're supposed to watch the dollars.
I think we got under the 50 million, if I remember right. Isn't that right, Mr. Sampson?
I was not involved in the early discussion, so I don't
You
know.
were involved in knowing how many dollars we were
I was
spending on it.
involved in the dollars.
About 45 million, wasn't it? 44, 45 million.
But as far, when I was first involved in discussions at what athletics would be at the magnet school, it was, there would not be football, there might not be a few others, but in terms of cost, not having football is the most expensive program by far.
Well, I want to thank Mr. Ash for coming up here. He's experienced tonight what Mr. Sanders experienced for years, having to take arrow after arrow into his body and then walk away and say, and report back to the school board. So, welcome to the frontier.
Well, one thing that happens here, I think this is fair to say. Many of us came in at various times during this process, and my information on this is predated by at least 2 commissioners here, and it was my understanding that when Mr. Gill first brought this up, and I was present, okay, when he first brought it up, and I was here on this committee, I was troubled by it myself, and informed him. I didn't know now, you know, earlier meetings and earlier thoughts on this, and I told Mr. Gill that I was, if I was ever going to approve any money for this project, which of course I did, that I was not going to be in favor of building any fields, of building a second gym, of a football team, that I did not want to go through what the school board and the commission went through on a couple of football fields. I wasn't interested in that. I didn't think there was any support for it. I don't think the city will ever approve lights out there for a field. I'm in the historic district. I don't think they'll ever go for that. The residents aren't going to go for that. It certainly doesn't fit. And you never say never, as we all in this room know, but I never saw myself approving anything like that. And he said, we're not going to have football. That was all he said. And we're not going to, planning on building another gym. No, we'll renovate the locker rooms, which after all are PE rooms. They're not really locker rooms, they're PE rooms. Mr. Ash and I talked about that the other day, that was the only money that what we approved that could even be remotely connected to athletics was the renovation of, by the way, maybe the worst locker rooms in the county, if you dismiss Eagleville from this conversation. And so that was, now, I think when we voted on all of this on the commission floor, we were all, this athletic situation was very minor in our thoughts. It certainly wasn't in my thoughts. I was worried about that 45 million and a number of other issues that went into that, and I think that's the way the commission, I think that's where we came from on that vote. But at any rate, I also agree with Dr. Bullen. It's Mr. Ash's and Mr. Gill's problem, but I'll certainly speak to him about it if you want me to, and ask him to address this the next time he addresses us. Is that fair?
Well, I would like to hear from him.
I'd like to hear from him too.
Okay, fair enough. He will always, one thing Mr. Gill didn't have any problem with is supporting his position and what he thinks needs to be done, so.
His support with the chairman, school board chairman.
I can talk with Dr. Burns, sure will.
You need to talk to Rick Wise.
I mean, Rick Wise, sorry. Sorry, Mr. Wise. My fault. If there's nothing else, we have a couple of date problems here for our next meeting, and I'm asking the committee members to, if possible, to move the November 24th meeting to the previous Thursday, the 19th. And I'm hoping that's going to be all right with you all. And while you're thinking about that, I'll go ahead and tell you the December 22nd meeting, I didn't know it at the time, but it's pretty much got to stay on that date. According to Ms. Taylor, she has almost no dates. Matter of fact, she said, I don't believe she had one for at least a week or so before that. And of course, Christmas, that's Christmas week. And Ms. Shelton is looking, but not commenting. So maybe you don't have to comment, but that's what she told me. That'll be all right?
The expert.
Yeah. She backed it all the way up to the previous week and it wouldn't work. So is the 19th of December, is that acceptable?
November.
Excuse me, November.
That's not the fourth Thursday, fourth. Is that a Thursday?
That's a Thursday.
It's the third Thursday.
It's the third, but then that doesn't conflict with property management.
I have property management on November 30.
Okay, that's right. Thank you.
19th is okay with everyone?
Works for me.
Could we just do that meeting at 6?
It's fine with me.
Yeah.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Good?
Temporary.
We have a school board meeting that night, so. don't know how to mix it.
What time is the school board meeting?
We could meet at the school board office. Like.
Yeah, right after school board.
Did you talk to her about going later?
I believe she looked 5 or 6 days previous and after, I think. We talking about for December?
Come the 23rd.
November.
Because you're moving up to the week right after the commission.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Now, I don't believe that I did that. I don't, on the November meeting, I don't believe that I asked her anything after the 24th. I don't, because it was Thanksgiving, I'm sure I didn't.
let's see if we could.
Schools are out on the 25th, which might affect some commissioners, might not, I don't know. And then, of course, Thanksgiving and Friday and the weekend.
I was just thinking about what, I didn't know a lot of people was off on the 24th. Oh,
I'm perfectly willing to meet on the proper date, if that's what we have to do. I have a conflict that night, but if I'm not here, Commissioner Jordan can certainly take over
what about 23rd?
and
I believe you could even go to December.
The only reason we're not doing on the 19th is because Superintendent Gill can't be with us that night. I mean,
I didn't.
I don't think this has got to be worked out immediately. I mean, I guess
No,
he could come to next month.
He can come the next month, that's no big deal on it.
19th then is okay with.
We're just asking for clarification. I'm agreeing with Dr. Bullen. I'm not trying to tell them how to run the system. I'm just asking for clarification on some changes.
You can email me if you want
The 19th at 6 o'clock.
Okay, 19th at 6 o'clock.
That work for you, Trey?
Yes, I think.
And then on December,
We're gonna stay on the 22nd.
December 22nd. Nobody's saying anything, so I guess we're okay. Okay. Any other business to come before the committee? Mr. Mayor, anything?
No, sir.
Any other business? And we are adjourned. Thank you so much.